Okay, here we go. Here we go with session 4. And we finished up with what was the garden being created in the image of God. And the last thing was that it was given to Adam to rule. And so mankind, it was to steward the things that God had created for them and for the purpose of bringing glory to God himself. I wanted to, just before I get into the fall of the garden, is that a lot of people have an idea that somehow God created man because he was lonely, and that isn't the case. God created man so that he could bring glory to all of creation for eons and eons, for eternity, to the Milky Ways, everything that God created. He created man to bring glory, to show his glory to all creation. And so that's very important, because we're going to get to what that means in some later sessions. So Adam and Eve now have everything that they need to accomplish God's purpose. Told them what he wanted them to do. There was nothing lacking. But he did say this. He said, "From all of the plants, all of the fruit, eat freely, but do not eat from one particular tree." And it's come to be known by people that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And he said, don't eat of that fruit. And I believe it was God's purpose that mankind not know evil, but only good. But there was a serpent that was in the garden. And you remember I told you that Lucifer had been cast down from heaven, and he came on as a form of a serpent in the garden, and specifically in the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And through a particular aspect of enticing and challenging and questioning God's love and his provision for Adam and Eve, he beguiled Eve to eat of that fruit. And immediately when she tasted that fruit, she knew that she had been changed. And then she had Adam, no, you have to eat this fruit. Whatever happened, Adam fell right along, with her. And so after they ate of that fruit, the whole framework of the garden had changed. The first thing that they noticed is that they were naked. The glory, the presence of God was now removed. They were separated from that. And as a result, they saw themselves very differently. They saw themselves as naked. And they covered themselves. I had somebody that did a teaching years and years ago that said it's interesting how they covered themselves where they were different. And I think still mankind still tries to hide where we think we're different. But anyway, that's another deal. But they covered themselves. They hid from God. So when God came and he says, "Adam, where are you?" I said, "Well, we're hiding." I said, "Well, why are you hiding?" "Well, because we're naked." He said, "Well, who told you were naked?" "Well, we can see we're naked." So now the harmony that was between God and man was now distorted. There was distortion between man and in himself. He was hiding. He clothed himself. He was where he's different. All these kind of things going on. And now there was disharmony between man and woman. Because the first thing that happens is that when he confronts Adam as far as what happened, and he says, "Well, I ate of the fruit." And he says, "But it was the woman that you gave me." And so now he's talking to Eve and said, "What's going on?" "Well, it was the serpent you put in the garden." So all of this blame shifting, nobody taking responsibility, it's always somebody else's fault. So there were consequences to this particular act. And the Bible calls it sin. It's choosing to go your own way. It's choosing to make your own laws and live how you want to live. Or just missing the mark. they missed the mark. They had the whole world out there, and they went for the very thing that God said don't do. Okay? So now let's talk about what are the consequences of that in the aspect of the serpent. He says to the serpent, he said, from this point on, you will be on your belly, and it's from the dust that you shall eat. And show me any kind of snake out there that's got feet, and I'll tell you, it's not a snake. Snakes were relegated. He took the form of a snake to appear, and now snakes are on the ground. Not that's a big deal. It's a big deal from this standpoint, is that the devil is now destined to only bring about his evil ways through the flesh of men, through the dust of men. But that's another story in itself. So now let's talk about what happened to the woman. Well, now childbirth was going to be difficult and painful. Prior to the fall, childbirth was going to be wonderful, but not now, because of the sin. It was there now. She was not who God made her to be. He also says that the desire will be to rule over your husband. Now that's a really an interesting part of this. And what I believe that he's saying is that your desire is going to now to be ruling over your husband, but I say your husband will rule over you. And again, that was a result of the fall, the result of sin. That wasn't the way God made them. They were going to be side by side, and Eve was going to be the helpmate to help Adam accomplish all the purposes of bringing the fruit in the garden throughout the whole world. And then he says to the man, he said, the ground is now cursed. Eden is gone. And now where there was nothing but good fruit, now there'll be thistles and thorns. And now work shall be difficult. It'll be with sweat. It will be with pain. It will be drudgery. And you still are going to have to live, and you're still going to have to dress and keep the earth the best that you can in the situation that you're in. But then he makes this promise to Adam and Eve, and it's a promise that is throughout all mankind. And he says, the seed of the woman will come, and the seed of the woman will bruise or crush the heel of the serpent, or the devil. Oh, I'm sorry. It will be that the serpent will bruise the heel of the seed of the woman, but the seed of the woman will crush or bruise the head of the devil. So that was the first aspect of the promise of the coming Messiah, the one that shall save mankind from his sins. So a lot took place there. We see now through history, we've got Cain and Abel. We got brother against brother, one killing the other, and we're going to see an escalation of sin as Adam and Eve procreate and fill the earth. So I'm going to leave it right there, and the next time we're going to talk a little bit about the historical aspect, but we're going to really jump in now to the second Adam, which is Jesus Christ himself.